Hi.
Chip, when you woke up this morning, did you have a sense that you'd have an Oregon Duck joining you?
No. I mean, it's the way Trent and the personnel staff did it with our coaches is you kind of set the board up and then say, you really don't know. And you hear so many things of, I think you were pretty guaranteed that the quarterbacks were going to go 1-2. And then after that, it's just how it played itself out. But we were really comfortable in terms of where we were sitting at 7 that we were going to get a good football player.
Chip, in your mind, is your quarterback situation pretty much the way it is settled? It's Blaine Gabbert and Colin Kaepernick and Thad Lewis, and maybe that's the quarterbacks you're going to go into camp with?
We'll see. You got another day tomorrow and another day on Saturday to see what's available out there. But I've said since day one I'm extremely comfortable with those guys. If that's what we have going forward, I'm excited about it.
See Colin meeting with John Elway and meeting with Denver and his agents asking for a trade. Is that something that bothers you at all about a quarterback that might be on this roster going in next season?
No, my conversations with Cap is that I understand that the NFL is a business and you have an agent and there's things you take care of. The one thing I told him, and I think he can tell you has happened, I said, if you're here on April 4th and I really want you to be here on April 4th, we're just going to coach the heck out of you. And he's been outstanding since he's been here on April 4th. He's worked as hard as anybody on this team at his rehab. He's been great in every single meeting we've had. He's been at every single training session we've had. So I've got nothing but positive things to say about Cap, and I'm excited about him. I think he's a heck of a football player.
John Elway already said that with them drafting Paxton, they're not interested in a trade now for Cap. So is there any reason in your mind to not think Kaepernick's going to be on your team?
I never thought that anyway, so my thoughts haven't changed since I sat down with you guys at the Combine. I think that's what I said, and I'm sticking to it.
How do you when you look at Buckner joining up again with Armstead, how do you see those two guys and what kind of flashbacks do you have from Oregon?
Well, I think, and Bruce Ellington made the point to me, he was actually in the cafeteria after we made the pick, that we have the best pickup basketball team, I think, in the National Football League. He said him and Bowman in the backcourt and Buckner and Armstead in the front court. Anybody could be the three with those guys. So,
Are they as football players?
they're pretty good too. I think it's unique that we have an opportunity. I have an opportunity, and Jerry Azanero is our defensive line coach, who was with me at Oregon, has an opportunity to coach those guys again. They're what we were always looking for when I was at the college level, and a chance to see them now play in the National Football League. It doesn't surprise me that they were both first-round draft picks. They're what you're looking for when you're running a 3-4 defense. Athletic enough guys that don't not only play on first and second down, but you can get a lot of really good positive production out of them on third down. And DeForest is, actually, as a freshman at Oregon, he played outside linebacker for us, so he's played on his feet and has dropped into coverage. And it kind of tells you a little bit about his athleticism. So it's exciting to get those guys back together again.
Could you tell us how much input you had in the selection process at all? Were you an observer, or did they involve you?
Well, tonight I was an observer because I think what the job is when you have such a good personnel staff like you did. I think our coaches and our personnel staff worked extremely well together. One of the things that always attracted me about coming here, I think myself and Trent share the same vision of how to build a football team. It's kind of shows itself that we're drafting the same guys that we're taking coming out of high school are the same guys that we want when we're looking at them moving into the next level. But it was just kind of fun to sit back and watch him work the board and work the phones and give us two really quality players on the offensive and defensive line where I think the game starts.
What do you see in Joshua Garnett that you believe that he can fit into what you're going to be asking him to do?
Personal knowledge of just going against him. We thought he was the best interior run blocker in the draft. We've always run the football since whether I was in college or in the National Football League. I think we finished 1st, 8th, and 14th in the last 3 years in the league running the football. When I was in Philadelphia, we're going to continue to do that. When you have someone like Carlos Hyde, in the backfield, I think that's what we're that's what we want here. We're going to play great defense. We're going to be really good at running the football. And so to add someone like Josh, he's just a physical, big physical player that can bend really well for a big guy. I think you look at, the one thing that always remarkable about him is when you look at some of those short yardage goal line packages that David runs there, and you look at Josh, who's literally 3 inches off the ground, just driving guys out of there. It's impressive to see. And then you throw the intangibles in with Josh, with a kid that wants to go to med school, is a senior that's going to graduate in June with a degree from Stanford. I think you kind of check all the boxes when you're looking at Josh.
Is there any pause that the guy has so much going on? He can leave the NFL tomorrow and have a great career in another field. Is there any concern that, you might lose him after a couple of years?
I don't know where that comes from, but I've
Well,
never.
there was a player here, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but just because someone's smart, I don't think you just steer away from them and say, we don't want guys that are really intelligent because they can stay with us for a long time. So he's an extremely driven person in everything he does, whether it's academics or athletics. And I think that's what you're looking for. That's what attracts you to people like Josh. That's someone that no matter what the challenge is ahead of him, he's going to attack it with everything he has. And I look at that as a positive.
You don't often see a guy who's going to get drafted in the first or the second round take part in a local pro day. Did that convince you, or did that speak to Garnett's character that he would do that here in Santa Clara?
Obviously impressed with it, but it was also something that just told me the same thing that David Shaw has told me all along about. Josh loves football. The fact that he's actually a very intelligent young man that wants to go to med school doesn't take away from the fact that he loves football. And to see a guy come, there's a lot of guys that would come and say, hey, I've already been to the combine. I was a first-team All-American. You know who I am. I'm a local guy. I don't have to work out. He looked at it, when you talk to Josh, as another opportunity to get coached by an NFL coach. And he gets to get some work with Coach Flaherty. So, it does say a lot about him, but that's the type of player you're getting.
Chip, since you came to the NFL, your teams, about half their draft picks have come from the Pac-12. It seems like perhaps more than a coincidence. Obviously, you're not making all those picks directly, but does that speak to, these are guys you're familiar with, a lot of cases you know their background intimately. Does that lead to that number?
I think it speaks to the quality of play in the Pac-12. I think it's, one of the top conferences out there. You look at David's teams have been ranked in the top 5, I don't know how many consecutive years in a row now. You're talking about guys from Stanford and Oregon. You're talking about 2 top 10 national programs that are turning out players that are, outstanding football players, whether it be on the teams that I've coached or other teams. They had a quarterback a couple years ago over there that was pretty good. They got picked in the first round too.
Andrew Luck.
Yeah, not bad. He's pretty good.
Zane Beadle spent a lot of time at
Last
left
one,
guard
guys.
before. Zane Beadle spent a lot of time at left guard before signing here. Josh Garnett played mostly, if not exclusively, left guard.
Yeah.
How do you see that shaking out in terms of where they're going to play?
Today, I don't have that answer for you. What we will do with all of our guys is it's a competition, and we're going to put, Coach Flaherty and Coach Mods, and what we're going to try to do on the offensive line is put the best 5 guys on the field, and we'll figure out what's the best situation. Zane has experience in the league. If he seems to be more comfortable on the left side, we got great flexibility. The same thing with DeForest. But as Trent said earlier, we drafted 2 guys in the first round, but they still have to earn their playing time here. It's a meritocracy in terms of show us in terms of our confidence in you in terms of being a starter will be based on demonstrated ability, and they'll have enough time between now. I think we got a rookie minicamp coming in where we'll get Josh and DeForest in here for the first time and get their feet wet and get moving with them all the way through to where we are in September. But our concern isn't who's going to be our left guard, at the end of April. It's going to be who's going to be our left guard when we open up on Monday night against the Rams.